What's up, everybody? It's Pat Voss. This is the Honesty Podcast interview series. We have vlog series 5 days a week, Saturdays an interview series, and of course, Sunday is going to be my Q&A sessions. Of course, big props to Amir Gray, thatgreatguy.com for cutting the intro for the Q&A session, and my father, Ed Voss, for, of course, providing vocals for the Q&A. But first, let's get to this interview series. It's Matt Matera, senior editor and writer. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Good. And I'm lucky to have you finally on here. I've been talking to you and a lot of people that don't know about GMB or GMBsports.com. I've been talking to Preston Bailey as well. You guys are great guys. I love working with you, and I look forward in the future here to keep writing for you guys and with you, as well as my own blog series. But for at least on the GMB side to start, what is it that you do?
So I started off as a writer in like April for GMB. I saw like an opening and I reached out to them. They called me a couple days later, signed me back on. So starting off, I was strictly writing articles, pieces of work about anything that I wanted, any sport. And, I watch all sports. So it was nice to have the availability to write about anything I wanted. And then after a couple months of working there, Preston really liked the work that I did. So he promoted me all the way up to editor. So now I'm, speaking with new hirees, letting them know what we're all about at GMB, teaching them how to write how to put together a formal article that, maybe not too long, and how to attract other audiences. And then I also help with the GMB Twitter account, as well as posting pictures and things like that on the article. So I kind of do a little bit of everything, but I like to focus mainly on writing.
And I like that. You're a guy that wears a lot of hats, and that's sort of what I do now. Minus, like for the Honesty Podcast, I don't, for my first show I did last year for LNMU, Late Night Mix-Up, I did have a couple different, co-hosts. They'd have their own opinions on things, and we'd have a nice little roundtable discussion every single weekend. But as far as running things now, doing Twitter and Patreon for patrons, and doing Spreadshirt for my merchandise for the show, and then of course with Twitter, it's just all over. It's a one-person act right now, and that's why I also wanted to get with you when I got with you before about writing for GMBsports.com, is because doing a one-man show for everything else that you guys are doing right now. It's interesting as trying to bobble everything together, or trying to juggle everything. Now, how do you juggle that? Plus, you do something else outside of GMB Sports, don't you?
Yeah. So right now, I work for a minor league baseball team called the Bradenton Marauders. They're a minor league affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So now I have a little more downtime, just because we're not in season, but we're gearing up for spring training. Coming up in March, but I got to do a lot of work in February as well. So it's tough to balance it, because, working in sports, you're working 12, 14-hour shifts and things like that. But I mean, that's the beauty of working from home sometimes for GMB is, when I'm not at the ballpark, I can, focus on my articles and, try to bang out article after article after article. If I have any little downtime, I'm just thinking about what can I do next. And then when I'm at work, obviously I work in the office and in the cube life doing things like that. But, when a game's going on, you have a little bit of downtime, because as we all know, baseball is kind of a slow moving sport. So even then, while I'm working for the Marauders, I'm, formulating ideas in my head, like, oh, what would be a good topic for tomorrow, and things like that. So those are my two main jobs. And then another cool thing I get to do is every year in July, I am and I'll put this in quotations, a talent escort for the ESPYs award show that's in Los Angeles at I think it's called the Microsoft Theater now. It used to be the Nokia Theater. Now it's called the Microsoft Theater. It's right next to the Staples Center. And it's a part-time gig, just once a year, but it's a surreal experience. And so I'm working in the sports world. I'm doing what I love, and I couldn't be happier.
So, and that's cool to hear, but I want to ask, and for people that don't understand at home, when you say sports escort, and of course you put that in quotations, what do you mean? What is your job while you're there?
So pretty much for the award show, as a talent escort, a sports escort, as you said, pretty much each person gets assigned to an athlete, and we bring them down the red carpet. A lot of these athletes, especially if they're bigger time people, they have a lot of different interviews that they got to do at different sections. Because on the red carpet, there's like 4 or 5 different little stations there. Obviously, there's like what's that show with Michelle Beadle?
Oh gosh,
And
Sports
Marcellus
Nation.
Wiley. Yes, like Sports Nation, First Take, things like that. They all have their own booths, and then E Entertainment has their own booths. So a lot of the athletes, they have a number of different interviews that they got to do. There's so much preparation that goes on beforehand. I'm dealing with the agents and the managers to make sure, like, oh, okay, this is the time they're getting on the red carpet. They have an interview at this time. Then they have to go to this lounge to go talk to so-and-so, and then this person's presenting and stuff like that. So even though the show is one day, there's preparation that goes on weeks in advance, days in advance. So it's not as simple as just bringing them down the red carpet. I know that sounds
Right.
Like, oh, anyone can do that. But there's a lot of more preparation and things behind the scenes that people don't see. And so many stuff on a live show changes on the fly. So you always got to be ready to react.
And pardon me, and I know this is supposed to be, usually when I do my vlog series, it's an unfiltered vlog series. So pardon my language here, but it's a controlled shitstorm.
Are we allowed? I guess we're allowed to curse on this. Absolutely. It's just one giant cluster of, yeah, he's going to be interviewed at 4:45. And like, no, actually it's going to be 5:15. So you got to find another 15 minutes to do something else. It's like, all right, why don't you come this way? And then, yeah, pretty much what you said. It's a big shitstorm.
Well, what's nice though is that's why, and for anybody doubting, editors of shows, or when, for gmbsports.com for the blog posts and things like that, anybody that would ever doubt you that you could get it done, after hearing you talk right now about how to get your escort duties done for the ESPYs, should doubt no more. I mean, you are very multifaceted. You're definitely not goal oriented. You're very versatile.
Right.
So I can see why Preston bumped you all the way up, because that is what you need to be doing. You don't need to be down here doing just the blogs. You need to be doing something where you have some other things to control. You have a certain limit to your control, but you still can control a lot of things and juggle a lot at the same time.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. It's very nice of you to say.
Well, and that's the thing is, here's the great part is, I haven't known you for all that long.
Right.
But I already get that impression from you, and that's kind of why I think I get along with you and I get along with Preston and people from GMB Sports, because I have that same kind of drive in myself to do what I want to do with my show. I have that same kind of drive. I need to juggle the interviews, like this interview. So for people that don't understand, and this is a little bit behind the scenes, so I'm breaking down a wall here, and I apologize for anybody that's zoned into these interviews week after week. All these interviews, in fact, my first 10 interviews you will see on my show were all shot within a 5-day period. So this interview is directly following Ronald Ager's interview. 2 days ago, I did an interview with Amir Gray and Matt Brax, the pro MMA fighter. I mean, and then tomorrow, which is a Friday, before the first Andrew McDonald and Seventh Heaven interview airs on Saturday the 22nd, or I'm sorry, the 21st, I actually have 4 other interviews to do back to back to back to back. So
I'm lucky enough you're able to squeeze me in.
Well, it was interesting, actually. It was interesting because I was waiting on hearing back something from someone else. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is when you're doing things, when you're doing an interview series, you don't just do it, every single Saturday. It's not just one interview every Saturday, because if that was true, and let's say somebody, I wouldn't say craps out or walks away, but if somebody shies away or can't make it, now you're out an interview for the very next week. So you schedule, at least in my experience, you schedule at least 2 interviews a day, and you do that for a 5-day period. And unlike John Lee Dumas, a JLD is an entrepreneur on fire out of California. He does his podcast, but he does daily content. Well, how do you think he does daily content? He does daily content because at the beginning of each week, he does about 10 hours of work back to back. And that way,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you got to have a diverse portfolio. You can't have all your eggs in one basket.
Right. You can't just go with one thing. And that's why I sell. And like for GMB Sports, I know you do sell merchandise. And I believe, is it still gmbsports.com?
Yeah, it's GMB Sports. They started selling merch before I even got on board with that, so I don't know as far as how
Well,
much they
they did
really.
that when actually one of the old co-creators was a co-host of mine on my last show. Uh,
Oh wow.
so, so I understand, and I like this, the hoodies and the t-shirts and all that. It's a great idea. And for me personally, facet wise and for yourself, I mean, what is it that you're looking forward to doing? Before I get into what I was going to say, what is it that you're looking forward to doing the most as far as being an editor, and what is it that you look forward to, like, for your future?
Um, what do I want to? What do I look forward to the most? I definitely like writing more than editing. And it's nothing against the other people I work with. It's just, I like being an editor because it's more responsibility and, it looks a little better on a title, I guess you would say. But being able to write for me is just, I just love, shooting the shit with other people, talking about the big topics or even the small topics too. If it were up to me, I would just write specifically about my favorite teams because I can go so much more in depth about completely different things, talk about the third guy off the bench and things like that. But obviously, to a public forum, that's not as interesting. But I just want to keep getting better as a writer. And then, I mean, obviously, the end goal would be to work for, a big time company such as, you know, Barstool Sports or ESPN or things like that. Or I would also like to be maybe the beat writer for, again, as I just said, one of my favorite teams, or be one of the head writers for a a major four sports team. I think is the end goal for me. But
Now, and would you be opposed to writing like Bleacher Report?
no, I'd totally be cool with that too. Obviously, if the money's right, stuff like
Right,
that too.
right. And for me, like what I was going to say for you, you have an end goal. My end goal is actually just to make this a full-time business as what I do on the podcasting side of things. Like for now, I do a podcast, I do voiceover work, I write the blog posts for you. I'll be writing for you and for honestypodcast.com. I will be selling and asking for patrons on Patreon, and that's another way to gain a little bit of a following there. And of course, building up your social media game is a big part of this whole experience. If people don't know, get your social media game up now. If you're not ready, you're not going to be ready. I mean, you have to be mentally prepared to say, okay, how often do I need to be on Twitter, tweeting out other articles? How often do I need to be on Facebook liking other articles? Like, if people don't know you exist, why do they tune in?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I used to, when I first got into writing, it was for, I went to the University of Tampa and I went for sports management. And one of the big things that they want you to do in sports management was get an internship, which was a huge help for me. So I had a bunch of cool internships back in the day. I interned for the New York Islanders in group sales.
Oh, nice.
I interned for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and stuff. And it helped me figure out what I really wanted to do. And then I got this internship with Sports Talk Florida, which is a radio company and has a website as well. So that's how I first got into writing articles and things like that. But back to the social media thing. At the time, I had a Facebook, but my boss was like, "Oh, you got to get a Twitter. You got to get a Twitter." And I remember I would always joke with my friends. Some of us would be like, "You know what? Like, fuck Twitter. I don't want Twitter. I'm not going to get on it." Like, I'm like, "Fuck this shit. I'm not going to do that." So I didn't have a Twitter. I wish I did at the time though, because yeah, it's tough building a following now. But if I had started a Twitter back when like I started a Facebook, I would already have more followers than I do now, strictly just from like the people that you meet in high school and college that they're just following you because you're friends with them and stuff. And once you break through that, it's tough to get other followers that actually like give a shit about what you do as far as a writer, not just, oh yeah, we had this class together and we hang out on the weekends at the bar, so that's why I'm going to follow you.
And here's the thing, and something you also want to know is like followers for all sport, like for sports, it's awesome. But for my show in particular, it's sports and entertainment. So that's music,
Right.
movies, TV, everything else. And the funny thing is my fiance and I and Devana is her name, and she
Mhm.
goes by Devo in the music band scene, lead singer of a cover band here out in Chicago.
What band do they cover?
Well, no, it's 70s, 80s, 70s, 80s, and newer. And they do well. The name of the band is Rumor Has It, Hazit. And they go around. In fact, they're playing in a suburb of Chicago this Saturday, so that'll be nice. That'll be the 21st of January when the Andrew McDonald and Seventh Heaven interviews actually debut.
Yeah.
But anyways, so she and I, we relax around here, and I had a point going. I had a point, but unfortunately, I lost it. But for her doing what she does and for me doing what I do, it just makes it that much easier to coexist together because we both came into, let's say, a relationship. You come into a friendship. Both of you, like you and I, are gauged towards sports. That is what our eyes are on, and that's what we know well. Oh, yeah. And now I know my point. So for sports and entertainment, you have to meet a wide variety of people. And like for her, like I was saying, for music, I met her and she does her cover band scene. But then through her, I was able to meet a few other people and do Seventh Heaven, which tours all over the U.S. and beyond, and is pretty well known around the United States for their cover band stuff. But Chris Hardwick, who is the host of Talking Dead, the Walking Dead after show.
Yeah, I don't watch that show, but I was a big fan of Breaking Bad, and he had an after show of that.
Right.
He's blowing up, man. He's doing a lot of stuff.
His mom is following me on Twitter, Nerdist Mom, and I'm actually knowing she's a huge sports fan. That's the thing.
Oh,
huge
awesome.
Sports fan. I'm actually going to have her on over a phone interview here probably in the next couple of days, and then be debuting that in about 2 weeks. But that's the thing is you need to know what your niche is. And you need to know like who's watching. Like for me and for you, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. Anywhere like 18 to 24, and sometimes you'll get that 25 to like 40 crowd of men that listen to GMB or watch or
look at
the GMB sports blogs. And once you guys get a podcast, once you guys get a full time like a show going, I'm sure people will tune in for that, no problem, because they already know you from the website.
Yeah, for sure. I actually had a podcast. I did like 3 or 4 episodes with 2 of my buddies, but I'm not good with, the editing and how to chop stuff up and things like that. So I had a buddy of mine who I work with the Marauders do it, but then he's a genius with all this pyro. He's like a DJ. He's like a video guy. He does like all this different stuff. So I'm like, dude, I'll just hand it over to you. And so he would edit it and stuff for us. But then it just became a problem. Like I said, first of all, it's on me because I don't even know how to do half the stuff. Like we would record the show and we'd preview week 11 of the NFL. And then I'd send it to my buddy, but then he's so busy he wouldn't be able to produce it until like Monday. And it's like no one wants to listen to a preview of week 11's games when they just happened. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and that's why I did with my show, and this is something you might want to look into for the future, is if you're looking to get into doing a show and you have, let's say, 1, maybe 2 co-hosts with you, My Honesty podcast is, hashtag honest opinions. It's unedited, unfiltered. It goes from start to finish, and that's the easiest way to do it because I think if someone doesn't worry or doesn't have to worry, depends on what you're really discussing. If someone doesn't have to worry about the editing afterwards, mentally they're freed up for the interview or they're freed up for the show. And that's what I did with like the guy, the older friend of mine, Brendan, and you had Preston, who was the Florida guy, and then you had my guy Washington Crucial or Aaron out in LA. So I had 3 different co-hosts to my show, but I didn't do the editing to it because I figured if I can get somebody started and like aggressively talking about a topic, that is entertaining enough. And that's why I got a lot of views on Podbean and iTunes originally, because people would hear that and know these guys are really, really confident in their own points of view. And that's what I want to hear, because all these other guys are so edited, not yourself, but like you watch ESPN, they're so edited because they have to be by contract.
Yeah.
But you listen to me and I sound like the guy on your couch that actually has facts to go with it, that is just ranting and raving about everything you're talking about anyway.
Oh, yeah. I love getting fired up about topics.
And here's the last question before I let you go. And I believe I already talked to you about this. If you could be doing anything else other than what you do right now, what would it be?
I could have any job in the world.
Any job in the world, what would it be?
And it can't be like sports related?
No, anything. Because the last guy I just interviewed is a sports writer, and
Right.
he wants to be an NBA player. So, yeah, no, same.
I mean, obviously, like a pro athlete would be great. If it was in the sports world, ooh, man, I think being an announcer would be pretty cool. I'd like to do something that gives me fame, but not like I don't need to be like the top guy or whatever. Just like a little fame. I want to get invited to some of the parties and stuff like that. So maybe either like an announcer, or I think it'd be so fun if like one of my best friends was like a famous dope rapper, and I was like his hype man on stage and stuff. Where like we would do the show, we'd be like drinking, getting fucked up in the background, and like going to all this fun stuff, and just like living a fun life, traveling all over the place. Um, I would like to do something like that, but I think working at the ESPYS, especially just seeing not necessarily Hollywood, but just seeing like athletes in their element, and they're just like other regular people too, and seeing like all the production and things like that, it made me want to get into the type of stuff that you and I are doing now with the writing and the podcasting for you and stuff like that. So my main goal really is just to make it a full profession of just the writing part and stuff like that. I'm halfway there because I'm balancing this and the working for the Marauders, but eventually I want to transition into full-time, completely focusing on this.
All right, and before I do my now what I'm calling patented exit out of the podcast interviews,
Okay.
I see in the wall behind you, I see a pennant and a flag, and I have to ask about the pennant first. I see a Yankees. Are you happy you're a Yankees fan?
No, that's actually my roommate's pennant with the Yankees.
I
I am
your Jets.
So, okay, I'm originally from New York. So my teams are the New York Jets. I'm a huge diehard Mets fan. I root for the Knicks. And then in hockey, I'm actually a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I'm wearing a Stanley Cup shirt right now.
Oh,
That's a long story that
Penguins.
I'll get into another time. But I was actually at the parade this year when the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. So that's how committed I am to the Penguins.
I like that, and the reason I asked you about the pennant there, that was going to be about Aroldis Chapman, but the Jets flag behind you. I know I saw Mel Kiper's picks earlier today, and I know this is being shot on the 19th of January.
Right.
So I saw Mel Kiper's picks today for the draft, and I saw that they don't have Deshaun Watson going at quarterback until number 10 to the Buffalo Bills. My question to you would be, what do you think the chances are of a team like the Jets trying to make a move or pull a move here and get Deshaun Watson or a guy like him to come over? Because I know Leonard Fournette's tended to go or projected to go after him as well, or after the Jets pick as well at number 8 to the Panthers.
Well, I don't know if the Jets. Okay, it's clear the Jets need a quarterback.
Yes.
I don't know specifically if this is like the draft where they should get the quarterback. Everyone's all high and mighty because Deshaun Watson did everything that he did in the national championship. I'm not going to say he's not going to be a good quarterback. I'm not going to say he's going to be a bad quarterback. I don't really know. But the last 3 quarterbacks the Jets have drafted in the NFL draft were Christian Hackenberg, who a reporter came out and said that he couldn't throw it into an ocean, Bryce Petty, who was awful this year, and Geno Smith. Oh, and the last quarterback before that was Mark Sanchez.
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say Sanchez was a pretty –
Yeah. So the only way you can build is through the draft, but I don't think the Jets should like trade up and try to get a quarterback now.
Well, no, so they already have a closer pick to number 1 than the Buffalo Bills or the Panthers. So what I'm saying is, do you think they're going to try to make a move and be like, hey, I know they want this guy, but maybe I should pick Deshaun Watson or I should pick Leonard Fournette to be in the backfield? Because as we all know, Matt Forte, what the hell is he really going to do for the Jets anyway? He did all his greatest playing time is behind him in Chicago, in my mind.
And that's the weird question with the Jets right now. Like 2 years ago, they went 10-6, and that was pretty good as a Jets fan. I was pumped about that. And then last year they sucked. But, the offense, I think, honestly, is a quarterback away. And obviously Forte's older, so they could draft a running back too. The defense needs to work on as well. So the Jets could really go a number of different ways with the, what is it, the 6th pick that they have?
I believe they have number 6, yeah.
Yeah. And who's the top quarterback? Mitch Trubisky or whatever?
No, he's projected as the top quarterback. I don't see him as the top quarterback.
Okay.
He plays for, what does he play for, North Carolina?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I would much rather take a guy who has been to back-to-back national title games. Yes, he lost one, but he led a comeback that just fell short last year.
Yeah, and everyone says Alabama's an NFL defense and stuff. So
whatever. I mean, yeah, people kind of blow that out of proportion, but I can see the look on your face too. Everybody treats it like it's the Patriots or it's the the 85 Bears defense, and that's not true at all. But for a guy like Deshaun Watson to be motivated enough, or the team as Clemson to be motivated enough to lose in a national title game, come back the very next year and win it with 1 second left on the clock is pretty amazing.
Of all places, in Tampa, Florida, where I live.
Oh, right, yeah, you're out by Preston too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's something I wanted to ask your opinion on, because I see that the Jets, like the Bears, are in dire need of a great quarterback. And I'm not saying that he's going to be, and I hate to compare him to Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers to me is not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I'd put Big Ben in my lineup ahead of him.
You don't think Aaron Rodgers is like good?
No, I don't. No, see, that's not what I said. I said I don't think he's amazing. I never said I don't think he's good. But I would put Ben Roethlisberger above him.
Based on what?
Based on his ability to scramble and take a hit. Because if you look at Aaron Rodgers, he can scramble, but you can't touch the guy if you expect him to get off a good shot.
You're not supposed to get hit.
That's not my point. My point is durability, not my point is durability, not
how many games has Aaron Rodgers ever missed?
That I'd have to look up, actually.
Yeah, not much. Ben Roethlisberger misses like 1 or 2 games every season. So he gets hit all the time. He's a walking injury. And then when they played in the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers, who did they play? It was the Steelers, right?
Was it the Steelers that year in 2011?
It was in Dallas. Who won that game?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right. I'm just busting your balls, man.
So what I'm saying is, though, with him winning the titles, and this is the thing, and they put not only with Aaron Rodgers, but how they make Tom Brady out to be like the best quarterback alive in the media. Well, here's the thing. To me, if I'm taking me personally, if I'm taking Big Ben over Aaron Rodgers, I'm putting Brady behind Rodgers. Like,
that's ridiculous.
Automatically, because I think
that's your opinion. I strongly disagree.
Yes.
Like, this podcast is going to be like an hour long if we keep going.
No, but what I was just going to say was, I just think that, with all cheating scandals behind us in every time that they win a title, I just think that maybe there's a trend here. But with that, obviously, they can find me at Honesty Podcast, because I understand it would be an hour and a half. I understand. At Honesty Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, PatVoss12 on Snapchat. If you're a patron already on Patreon, I really appreciate it. If not, go check out honestypodcast.patreon.com and go check out the page there, as well as spreadshirt.com/honestypodcast to see all of the merchandise for the show. They know where they can reach me. Where can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matty4_Matera20. And, find me on GMB Sports.
All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for stopping in today and having a conversation with me. And for all the fans of sports fans out there, definitely tune in and look at the blog posts, gmbsports.com. All right, guys.
Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. Next week, we do have another great interview for you. We'll see you later. This has been Honesty Podcast.